Hi debaters. Welcome to the first video in a series of videos about what debate is. These videos are here to help you learn about debate and to be a really successful, great debater. So the first thing we need to learn about for debate is an idea about how to think about arguments in debate that's really going to help you understand them a lot deeper and make them a lot clearer and easier to understand. So that big idea is thinking about debate arguments as though it's telling a story. So the two things we're going to talk about today are what is a story and how are debate arguments like stories. And we'll see if I can do this in about 5 minutes. So you all have heard so many stories in your life, right? Fairy tales, stories of family members, friend stories. You probably tell stories every day at school, right? Every story has 3 parts. First, it has a beginning, what the world was like at first. Then it has a middle about what changed in the world. And then it has an end about what the result of that change was. So basically every story starts off with some version of once upon a time. If it's a fairy tale or Shrek or whatever, starts with once upon a time. Star Wars starts with, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. If you're telling a story to a friend or a family member, you're probably saying something like, this morning something happened, right? It starts by telling you what the world is like, and then it tells you how things changed, and then it tells you what the result of that change is. So let's look at a quick story to help see that. So you all are probably familiar with this story. It's called The Tortoise and the Hare, or The Turtle and the Rabbit. So in the beginning of that story, what is the world like? Right? So the world at the beginning of that story is there's going to be a race between this tortoise, the turtle, and a hare, a rabbit. And as we know at the beginning of the story, the hare, the rabbit, is obviously a lot faster than the tortoise, right? So that's where the story starts. We say there's going to be this race, and the turtle is way slower than the hare. What happens in the middle of the story? What changes the world the way it is? Well, in the middle of the story, the rabbit decides he's so far ahead, he's so much faster that he can take a nap during the middle of the race and still win this thing, right? So rabbit goes, takes a nap, and the turtle gains on him, starts actually winning the race. And then how does it end? How does everything end in this story? Well, the turtle is so far ahead because of the rabbit taking a nap that the turtle actually ends up winning the race. So as a result of the hare, the rabbit, taking a nap, the world changes, right? The way this story was supposed to go at the beginning was that the rabbit obviously beats the turtle because he's so much faster. But because the rabbit chooses to take a nap, he changes the way the world is. And as a result, the rabbit ends up losing the race because of this thing he did. So how does that relate to debate? Well, it's the same thing in debate. We're going to tell a story about what happens to the world if we change a law or we change a policy. So in debate, it's a similar thing, right? We say, what is the world like right now? And then we say, if we changed this law, if we passed it, what would that change look like? And then at the end, we're able to say, what would the result of that change be? So let's look at an example of that. Let's think about your school, the school you actually go to, the middle school that you are currently in right now. If we say something like, your middle school should require all students to wear a school uniform, something like this. These are the BTS guys, so they're dressed pretty sharp. Maybe your school wouldn't be so sharp looking, but same idea, uniform, right? If we require all the students at your middle school to wear a uniform, what type of result would that have? And what's the story of how we get to that result? Well, we can think of it this way. So the first part is, what's the world like right now? So the beginning, I'm pretty sure at your school, there's no uniform policy. I don't think any of the schools we serve have uniforms right now. So we know there's no uniforms at the school right now. Second part, how does that world change? So the second part, the way it changes is students would have to wear uniforms and they wouldn't be able to wear their personal choices for clothing. Then the third part is, what impact does that change create? How does that change the world? Is it good or bad? Well, some good things might be there'd be less bullying because students who maybe their parents don't make as much money, or students who have really off the wall clothing choices that they get bullied for, they wouldn't be bullied for those choices anymore, right? Because everyone would be wearing uniforms. They'd all be wearing the same thing. Another good thing is that there might be more focus on school and less on other things. So if there's students who show up to school with, something that's going to get them kicked out of school, something inappropriate like a swear word or whatever, those kids won't be in school because they're going to be kicked out of school because of what they're wearing. But if we have uniforms, then that won't happen anymore, right? It solves that problem. So students can focus on school and not be distracted or kicked out of school because of other things. Okay, what are some bad impacts that policy might create? Well, one thing is that it takes away freedom of choice and individuality, right? Pretty much all teachers, admins agree. We want students to show up to school as their full selves and be comfortable in school so that they can learn and participate as much as possible. If you're not able to show yourself, to bring yourself to the school through what you want to wear, then that can't happen, right? And then the second negative thing that might happen is potentially could cause problems for students who don't want to conform to the traditional gender standards of what their gender is expected to do, right? A lot of schools who have uniforms, they have male and female uniforms, and that's it. And if students don't fall into one of those two, or if a student is assigned into one of them but doesn't fit with it, that's going to cause a lot of problems for that student, right? And it's going to be really distracting and harmful and hurtful for them, and it's going to be a really bad policy. So that's the story of how this policy change, how it changes the way the world is right now and what impact that could have. And whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, you can see the story, right? About the way the world is now, the change that happens, and whether it's a good or bad thing. So this is going to be super important as we talk about other arguments in debate. We're going to talk about them as stories, and we're going to talk about how they start, what they change, and how the world is different as a result of that policy change. So it's really important that you get this as an idea. And I'm sure your coaches are going to be happy to explain this more to you. So that's it for now. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video, in video 101 and 102, where we talk about the main story of the argument of the evidence this year, right? What the main story is about. Okay, what law are we going to pass? And then how does it change the world? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? That's what the next few videos are about. So I hope we see you there. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great practice. See you in the next videos.